laws of this country makes room for people with insufficient means, the vulnerable, the downtrodden, to be protected. It, however, clamps down on those who take advantage of the loopholes in these laws to violate and commit offenses. Today on Law Express, we discuss the Beggars and Destitute Act of Ghana. This is Law Express. My name is Noella Seidu. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Benedicta Akita is a private legal practitioner who loves listening to music and singing. Nana Osei Educhum is a private legal practitioner who loves football, listening to music, and exploring the outdoors. She is a private legal practitioner and a consistent member of our 3-lawyer panel on the show every week. She also doubles as the host of the show. She likes to play tennis and read.
What is begging? Begging can be seen as someone earnestly or humbly asking for something. Someone can beg for attention. Someone can beg for favors. Someone can beg you to attend a program. Does it mean that these people fall within the law we are looking at? Because we need to understand what the law is trying to portray when it comes to the meaning of the word begging.
Okay. So to beseech, to entreat are all synonyms for begging.
Yes.
To ask for food, money, or charity, or to make a strong or urgent request for something, for resources.
Yes.
I think it's the same with destitute. In
Okay.
the ordinary meaning of the word, the English dictionary meaning. When we think about destitute, we think, oh, anybody who is poor. But then we would come to find that destitute is within a particular context of
Okay.
what the law contemplates. And that's what we would find out.
So to be destitute in the simple meaning could be an extremely poor person who lacks the means to provide for him or herself.
Precisely. That's
So let's now bring it down to our conversation today.
Okay.
Probably talk about the legal regime surrounding it. Who is in charge of what?
Okay, so first of all, starting with the law itself, the Beggars and Destitute Act.
Yes.
It's an old law, 1969.
Yeah,
It's
really old.
It's been sitting on our books for the longest time. I'm sure lots of people do not even think that we have a law like that criminalizes begging. So the regime that regulates begging provides that some institutions be responsible for making sure that they get the beggars of the streets, or they deal with the beggars in quotes. The problem.
Yeah.
So one of the main institutions you would like to look at is the Departments of Social Welfare under the Gender Ministry.
Okay.
So officers of the social welfare are involved to the extent that when a judge orders a report to be done, they would carry it out. And then also the Director of Social Welfare is also involved to the extent that the courts may give direct orders about where to place a beggar or moving a beggar from one institution to the other. So that is one of the main ministry that takes the lead or takes charge when it comes to dealing with the problem.
I think another key player within that space would be the Ministry of Interior, to the extent that the prisons and the police are under that ministry, such that, yes, they play roles. There's the police officers who effect the arrest, whether it's custody, whether it's a borstal home, wherever it is the prisons service that comes to play.
Precisely.
And they all fall under that ministry.
And then another thing that falls into it will be with the shelters.
Yes.
The shelters that are supposed to be there to cater for the beggars, especially those who are underage and all that, since they cannot be placed in those borstal homes and all that.
Apart from shelters, the law also contemplates circumstances where persons may be committed to specific institutions apart from shelters. Let's say a hospital or a specialized institution, like a place where lepers are catered for.
Yeah.
So the heads of those institutions also have a role to play with regards to taking care of the problem.
Great. We haven't established these institutions. I think a great time to now go to what the offense of begging is?
So with the offense of begging, if you look at it, section 2 gives 3 categories in which a person can be placed in for the offense of begging. The first one is any person found begging.
Okay.
The second is any person wandering. And the third one is or placing himself, any person placing him or herself in any premises or place for the purpose of begging.
I see the third talks to intent, but
Yes.
let's start from the top.
The simplicity, the
Yes.
simple one, any person found begging. So when we say any person found begging, what are we looking at? If I see a gentleman over there, I'm going to ask for money. That's, in simple terms, that is me begging. The act of soliciting funds or resources or anything from the person. That is it. The intent is what must be there.
And actually acting on it. So
And
let's
acting on
look at, let's bring it down to everyday how it works. You go to the hospitals, then there are these people who are always hanging in the shadows. The moment you park a car or they spot you walking, they run up to you and start showing you a prescription, claiming they have a part of the money or they don't have all the money. And so can you support them to buy medication, help them with their x-rays and all of that?
Either for themselves or even
For even family.
Family,
Yeah,
yes.
family. It's all
And
part of
sometimes they will
begging.
carry the sick child around them.
To show
Yeah.
you the sick person said, this is it, he needs money to go and pay for it. It's all forms of begging.
Then we have those with the traffic lights.
I think that's the one that a lot of people are accustomed to, because most of us use the road. We are either pedestrians or we are drivers.
Or passengers.
Or passengers. They come up all the time to
To
the
the
window.
window.
To the window.
So
And if you don't
come
give them,
in.
they start insulting you.
Yeah,
I
some
want
of them
37
will.
Aquamo. You
Yeah.
meet them a lot. Now, what we have to look at now is, what about now that in a modern era, technological age era, when people can just slide into your DMs,
Yeah.
people can just enter into your WhatsApp,
Digital begging.
digital begging, and say, please give me money, I need to pay this and this and this. Please give me money, I need to do this and this and
Or
this.
I've trained in dressmaking. I don't have the money to buy a machine, so help me set up. Right? It's always there, especially when you read comments by celebrities. People come under their
Comment
profiles,
sections.
comment section to just beg for money.
These are all
So
simple
by
signs.
application of the law, this would qualify as begging.
Simplicity, yeah.
The only difference is where it's happening. In that, is it easy for the police to notice it on their own? Unless there's a report, right? If it's a
Unless it's a
DM,
report, yes. Unless someone, if you find that it's very offensive, you can make a report to the police and they'll take it up from there. If the police sees someone, just the act of the person begging, the police can go ahead and may arrest the person for
so
that.
here's a case where not only are you begging, but you have put it on record by actually typing a message, which would become evidence
Yes.
at the police station for you to
Yes.
be reported for begging.
And I think that's even worse than physically being present in an open space, because if you're in an open space,
can
you could
deny.
argue that I didn't intend to beg, you know.
I was just saying hi.
I was just saying hi. But to be found, to be caught with worded evidence, that's even worse.
That's enough to show that you were just begging.
But in that circumstance, the one who takes offense must actually not be consenting to this whole arrangement, because they
Yes.
have to actively report their
Yes.
conduct
Yes.
to now. But there will be the argument, then block the person.
Well, you have various options to do that. If you find it very offensive and you think that you can handle it on your own, you can go ahead and block the person. You can go ahead and take the person out of your contact or anything of that sort.
But you're just saying people beware, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
people should just be
Sliding
aware.
into DMs and under comments to beg,
To beg.
solicit for funds
Funds,
or anything else.
Yeah.
You could be breaking the law there.
Yes. I feel that in cases like this, aside you just block, you need to report, because there are cases when people can text you, you respond,
Persistently.
then instantly they take over your profile
Okay.
and start using your number to start begging other people
Yes.
for. I was a
They
victim of
hack
that.
you
Yes.
and then
Hack
use
you,
your
they steal
goodwill
profile,
Yes.
and your network
Yes.
to beg.
To beg, yes.
What about those who climb up the trotros? This guy comes in. He's not selling anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We know about the nuisance bit of the sales.
Yes.
But he or she's got nothing to sell. It's just there to beg. That is also one of those examples.
And the
of
drivers
begging.
actually allow them on, because in some circumstances they take their cut. So if you want to come and ply your trade of begging on my, you pay this.
Just give me a
certain
commission of it.
Give me a commission, and then I allow you to do all that.
Let's take you to the next.
Yeah. Any person wandering. We see this every day. We see this happening. You see a lot of people just walking around and they'll just approach you. I need money to go and take a car. I don't have money on me. This and that.
I came to visit
that
somebody.
Is begging.
That is begging.
But no wondering. Yeah. I think the contemplation is likened to vagrancy, where you're walking around with no particular destination in mind, just aimlessly walking around. I see that as probably what the law intended for wandering. Just walking around.
Within the context of begging. When you're talking about beggars, there's a wandering aspect to it as well.
The law talks about destitution, which is extremely poor.
Yes.
So, and lacking the means to provide for yourself. So when it's in the space of a destitute, then it is wandering. Simplistic means just walking around, without necessarily begging.
Yes.
I see where you're coming from. I see your point. This can fall under destitution. Someone who does not extremely poor and cannot provide for himself. That means that he does not have any shelter.
So your only offense is that you're just walking around with nowhere to go. Normally we call those people lost people.
Yeah.
That being an offense,
it should be tied into the intention of begging.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you cannot just leave it solo or alone.
Yeah.
That because I'm wondering about, because I'm walking about, is an offense.
It could be in the space of destitution.
But
when it comes to begging, you should actively be soliciting
for the funds
and wondering.
So then quickly we need to tie in the bit about being in a specific place with a purpose, for the purpose of begging.
That's where the C comes into place.
Exactly. So
tying the two together.
Yes.
So you need to be found at a specific place or a premises for the purpose of actually begging. That is it.
So can I say I'm there, but I didn't come here to beg? But as I was there, accidentally I begged. So I did not come into the space to beg, but something happened. For instance, those guys that give the story. So you go to an event, he's like, oh, I just lost my wallet. Can you spare some change? Would that be begging in the strict sense?
I think those, we could say they're isolated incidents. Or you would meet somebody.
But that's if it's true.
That's
because
if
that could be a begging strategy.
That's if it's true.
That's a begging strategy. But if you notice that person is noted for doing that, is noted for that, you pick his face, or you notice that he has been doing it on numerous occasions, that you know that he is actually begging. But if it's like Benedicta said, if it's a one-off instance, like I come to a program, my wallet gets missing. I need funds to get a cab to go home or to go. I don't think that should fall within the remit of this law.
Great. So let's say the police have finally arrested you. So the law has caught up with you as a beggar.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Though morally, some people say, okay, so if I'm poor, what do you expect me to do? But yes, you've been arrested because you were begging. Okay. What are the possible repercussions or consequences?
So, first of all, before even the repercussions, you have the opportunity before the magistrates to put your case across.
Perfect.
And then the magistrates would inquire into your character, the whole circumstances. So the isolated incidents are taken out of it if it's not an isolated incident. If you are found to be always at that place, I mean, it would all be considered.
What if it's not always at that? You always change the
Maybe
location.
different locations,
Different
but
locations.
all the entire scenario, I mean, the various circumstances surrounding why you've been arrested will be considered. And if you are found guilty or wanting of the law, then you could be either subjected to a fine or imprisonment or both.
So yes, begging could be an offense under our law. If you're found guilty, you could be imprisoned or fined or both. But then there are exceptions within the law to help remove some categories, insulate them from this whole consequence of begging. But we'll go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we just pick it from there.
As regards the exceptions, first of all, a person will not be deemed to be begging by reason of only soliciting or receiving alms in accordance with a religious custom. So when we are talking about receiving alms, we know that different religions have the practice of giving out to the poor.
Almost all
religions.
Yeah.
So this wouldn't fall into the category of begging. For instance, we know that when it comes to the Islamic religion, there is zakat, where there's the obligation or the duty to give out to the poor. And for that, it's not begging. You are giving out to the poor. There's been some misconceptions about it constituting begging. But if you are giving out to the poor, you are not begging. You are the one.
You're freely
You're
giving
freely
out.
giving out.
Giving out as a religious duty and
Yes.
out of your own free will. And then we have churches.
Well, yeah.
Churches who also give out to widows and orphanages out of
So that
charity.
exchange falls
Yes.
under the exceptions and it's
Exception.
not an offense
It's
No, it's
under
not an
our
offense.
laws.
Yes.
No.
Because to be able to give, there must be a receiver.
Yes.
Yes.
So to fulfill that religious obligation, both sides must come to play.
Yes.
Somebody has to do the receiving, right?
Exactly.
The only difference is that the person must not be asking earnestly and humbly to be given.
Yes.
Yes.
So you see, in this case, it's not the offerer, is the person giving. So in the religious context, the person is the one giving, not the person begging or asking to be given.
Yeah, but
Because-
how do you find out who is in need? Because you cannot just see somebody and assume the person has a need, such that you think giving to this person will qualify in the context of the religious charity of giving to the poor.
So we have to look at it then. If then we'll be moving into the realm of the churches and the Islamic rules. Giving is part of the pillars of religion. Islamic has its pillar of giving. I think that's where zakat falls under. And we have the Christian part. Let me use the part. Anglicans, if especially during Easter, one of our pillars is that we're supposed to give
Okay.
to the poor. So it
Even
is
Christmas.
Christmas too.
Yeah.
So it's a
Okay.
pillar that charitable works falls within the religious context. So if it's within me, that it is, I feel that yes, I want to give. I'm going ahead to give. It's fine. Not that you are coming to ask me that you need money, you need
But the
resources.
law allows for soliciting
Yes.
as well
Yes.
within
Yes.
the religious
Within
space.
the religious
So the
space.
difference is just that if you get caught and
Yeah.
you can justify that, look,
It's for
I was
religion.
soliciting in
Yeah.
furtherance of my religious duty or within that context,
And that's
then you'll be fine.
And one thing I also find with most religious organizations is that before they go on giving, they identify the need. So they would have found maybe an orphanage or a particular group of people. I
That they
ask
want to
them what
give.
they need, and then they would. Within that
It's
context,
not always, Bernard. That's like an organized institution, like a church.
yes, like a church.
But where an individual, especially with Islam, some people decide that every Friday they're going to get 20 packs of food and they'll give it to anybody who is hungry on the streets. At that point, it's not just poor people per se. You see, it could be anybody who has a need at that particular moment.
How
That-
would you? How
that
do
one-
you know?
That one will be falling under like giving of alms. I think what Benedicta
Yes.
is looking about is solicitation, where the the offerer is now soliciting funds from people to go and give for a specific purpose.
No.
Do you get it?
So there are two different aspects. That solicitation comes within the package of those who are given.
Yes.
Yes.
It's your institution.
Yeah.
That's how you request. It's like being on a WhatsApp group for your class. Somebody's bereaved,
Yeah, just
and you
asking
all
for-
ask for funds to go and donate.
Yes.
That is a different solicitation.
Yes.
It's part of the givers group.
Yes.
So you won't complain because you're part of that block. We're looking at this person soliciting as part of.
Oh,
So
I see.
probably you're driving through Nima, you find people on a Friday with sticks soliciting. That kind of soliciting will fall under what the law exempts as an offense.
Yes.
Because if there are no solicitors, how do you
How do you
give
give?
on your way to the mosque? So these are the kind of people this law seeks to protect within this requirement. So let's look at the next exception or exemption, if
That's
you may.
where it is the custom of a community.
Great. So that is a very interesting one because
Yes.
every community will have its unique customs.
Yes.
How do you now prove that this is your community custom? You've come from India to Ghana, then you come to Independence Square with a megaphone to solicit for funds. Then you say it's your custom within your community, and so you should be exempted from begging?
This is quite difficult, I must say. It's very difficult to be able to find out whether that is true or not.
But
Because
upon interrogation, we'll be able to.
from interrogation, you will be able to, for example, I think...
That's for the judge to.
That's for the
for the judge to
interrogate,
figure out.
yes.
Because I know that a couple of years ago, some group of friends of and I, when we were working through the Accra Mall, we decided to talk to some of the people who were begging.
Oh, you mean the immigrants?
Yes. And we interacted with one gentleman. We asked them, why won't you just go and look for a job like selling or cleaning? He says it's against his custom to do menial work, but they find it better to beg. Within their custom, they can
So
beg.
I should do menial work and then find money to come and give to him.
To them, yes.
Oh, interesting.
They said that is within their custom, or that is within where he comes from. Well, it didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, but if your custom is not recognized within our Ghanaian custom, okay, and you are in conflict with our law, we can use your personal law to exempt you.
Precisely.
Once you move into Ghana, you need to go with our laws.
According to the laws of the country.
There is a well-known customary practice where people with twins and triplets come to the streets and then they beg. And it's not a practice within just one specific customary group. It actually moves from group to group. To the extent that there are people who actually have, I've heard this name before, twins don't beg.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is related to, but what I'm saying is it is just to debunk that impression based on a customary practice.
Yes.
Some groups believe that once you've had twins, you must go on the street as part of their custom to beg.
You see them all the time.
You see
on the
them all the
streets,
time.
yeah.
So you
With
see a
the
woman
twins,
with two kids. You're not familiar with that, right?
I'm not familiar.
It is a well-known,
Yeah,
I
you
don't know
see
what
them.
rock this guy has been under. It's a well-known practice. And it's not just within just a single group. There are different traditional groups and customary groups that believe in that.
Yeah.
All across Africa.
Okay.
And even though in some circumstances, yes, the custom would permit them to sit by the streets with the twins to beg, but it's for a specified period.
Yes.
But some get so accustomed to it that you go there and the twins have grown and you're like, what happened?
They're getting the
They're
benefit.
still there.
They're
It's become
still
a
there.
business.
It's become a business.
So we can probably move on to the next exception.
So the next exception is for a public charitable purpose. So where you are soliciting for funds for, let's say, an orphanage, or you recognize a need in a community, they may need a borehole.
You want to build a
or
school.
go
Yeah.
into a school to
Constructing
provide
and all that.
school supplies, decks and all that, and you're soliciting for funds for that purpose. Or even a school would say that, okay, we don't have money to paint our walls, so ask another company to come to their aid just to come and paint the school.
Good.
In that context, it's not begging within the meaning of the law.
Like what I stated earlier, and you corrected me, was the fact that if I'm in a group and we are soliciting for funds, that's where we can find a public charity. We are soliciting to go and do something for the neighborhood, to do something for
Old
the church
students
or
group.
old students association, all those things. That can fall under public charity.
Public charity, I think why the law wouldn't make it offensive is it's publicized to everybody. And then you decide. So there's no pressure on you. I want to see the offense comes from where the person is putting pressure on your emotions to give.
Yes.
And that's why that in-person begging is a lot more offensive.
Yes.
Because you are trying to play on the person's emotions. Emotional manipulation. Oh, I can't cry. And you see that undue pressure.
Yes.
I'm sure that's why the law doesn't really countenance that at all.
And I think it's also because of the impact.
Yes.
Because when it is public, the impact is more. It's not just something that might end up in one person's pocket. That's what he uses it for.
You
we
never
cannot
know.
interrogate.
This
And
person
it
has
needs to
been
be a
doing
fair
this for
purpose.
years, and you never know why he's still there.
Yeah.
Maybe he's built a house and he's coming back to
some of them I
do
hear
something
would
else.
have homes and all of that.
Yeah.
Because I think the goal is that it also gets back to the community. It goes back
Perfect.
to the neighborhood. What we are going to do is going to benefit the people. in
And
the
it's more
home.
structured, and there's
Very
accountability.
There is.
Because there are times that, look, if you're driving on the streets of Accra and you stop at a traffic light and then have these kids look at you and beg, you normally will have a moral battle in your mind. Okay, for me as a mom, I'm like, what if this kid genuinely has not eaten all day and is starving? But we all know that some of these kids are brought there by people as a business.
Yes.
Because they have what's it called, thefts, and they
yeah.
have chiefs that cover the areas. So you're torn. Do you want to enable a bad behavior, or you want to support somebody who really could be counting on you for the next meal? So the times that probably you don't give, you leave, and the rest of the day stays with you.
Like
You're
emotional
wondering,
blackmail.
Exactly. Could I have saved a life? What if this guy just collapses after I leave? Like, you can have a replay over and over on your conscience.
But sometimes on the spur of the moment, you don't even want to think about it. You just take out the money, like, you go, just go away.
No,
yeah.
I don't do that.
And
I would
only
do
to
that.
find out later you are being treated as a
Yes,
customer.
I
Because the
would
next
do
time they see you, they remember you, like, this is the auntie that gives. So more of them will come around.
That is the reason why I don't give. Especially
You
when
never give.
No, because that can happen to me. When you meet and you give one, the next person, oh, I remember this guy, he comes back again for you. Especially around the 37 area.
Also around Asylum Down. So I slow down the traffic light. This kid comes, so cute little girl. I didn't even think much about it. I had little change around. I gave it to her, and instantly I could see her in the mirror.
Calling
She was
other-
happy. She hopped off to call 3 others.
Like, yeah, come, this is a treasure bank. Come
Like,
and take
yeah,
some.
this one is given, so come.
The part that annoys me, what you said earlier, is that they've made it into a business in a way. Because you see the children are the ones soliciting for the money,
Yes.
and the older ones are sitting down, watching.
Or the parents drinking tea in the
Yeah.
in the shade.
and as soon as you give them the money,
But don't be mistaken, they are
they come
watching.
and take the money.
Yeah. They are
No,
As
they
soon as
actually
you give
take
them,
it
they take the
there.
money
they
from
take
them.
it from
Yeah.
the children. Yeah, they are watching.
They take the money
No,
from
for
and,
safekeeping.
and that, and like the others that go to this person.
You are be as
Yeah.
hardworking as your sisters.
Yes,
Yeah.
again, I don't get it.
We
And
haven't
then
quite
we
run
have,
over.
We have like traffic children who also have to give accounts at the end of the day. So
Wow.
they aggressively.
So you have targets.
Yes,
Yes.
they aggressively have to meet their targets and make accounts by their handlers who are hiding and watching.
Now you see that some of them are begging and they'll be holding things to sell. If they cannot sell, you say, please give me money because I've not been able to make any sales.
It's part of
and
the
all that.
emotional blackmail.
Blackmail.
Like, let me have something to show that at least I'm trying.
Yes.
So you will be more compelled to give to this person because you feel like, look, she's really hungry. How much is she selling this cotton bags for?
Correct.
Whereas if the person came straight to you, especially you won't give.
I won't give.
So we sampled people's opinion on the topic, okay?
Okay.
Let's take a listen, then we finalize the bits on the exceptions because I know we haven't finished with that.
The beggar situation in this country is really getting out of hand. Now, the thing is, there are foreign people in this country that we don't even know where they come from, but they are on our streets. Their children are begging, and sometimes too, it's not even that they are begging. They are using forceful means to beg. They want people to give them money and so on and so forth. And I think the government should focus on the source. Who are the people bringing these foreigners in? These people from Chad, these people from Niger, these people from Central or even some other Western African countries. So if the government wants to solve that issue, they have to look at the source, how they are getting to the country.
And under the 2012 Mental Health Act, Section 55, incapacity states that all these people be catered for, including those on the street. So I would urge all NGO stakeholders to come together as one entity to help accommodate these people. Let's just come together and take them off the streets. For instance, getting a home for them, facilitate them, get them a vocational skill and all that. It will go a long way to helping and fostering our economy as a country.
Regarding the mentally unstable individuals, I think the authorities should increase access to healthcare facilities like the psychiatric hospitals and also include affordable treatment. Some of them end up on the streets because their family or their caretakers probably don't have the money to afford such treatment, so they end up being on the street recklessly. Concerning beggars too, I think they should implement programs and like job trainings that will help those people acquire a job.
The mentally challenged individuals on our streets, I think the government needs to set up more institutions. I know there's one at Asylum Down, but I think that is not enough. We need to focus more on them, because sometimes you see old women, some of them too are pregnant, some of them are already, they are very old, and they don't have anybody to help them. Nobody minds them, nobody, they just see everybody pass around. Some of them, they are sick and they just stay there and die. So I think the government needs to get more, or let me put it, need to set more institutions that would cater for these people.
It's interesting. Huh?
It's very interesting, especially the comments the gentleman made.
He was too passionate.
Very passionate. I think he has been a victim of so many attacks. He focused on two things: the foreign beggars and mentally challenged. With the foreign beggars, I think that another institution should be involved in it. That should be the immigration.
Okay.
That should deal with immigrants who come in to come and beg. Because when they are caught, can they be subject to our laws?
So you've moved in and you've broken our laws.
Yes.
Of course, you're subject to our laws. This is our jurisdiction.
Very well. But the fact is, what about the children that are taken in?
So, you know the juvenile bit, which we'll talk about in a bit, they will be treated as such because they can be prosecuted.
Yes.
They are kids. So I think we'll be discussing that as we move on.
Yeah,
so we can probably bring this back
I wanted to tie it in with the Children's Act.
Yes.
You remember children are supposed to get free education, basic education. Would they fall under that remit since they are not citizens of Ghana?
Absolutely. A child is a child if you found and they can trace your parentage. Now, the kids probably will not be prosecuted because they are minors.
Yes.
But then if, for instance, their parents are jailed in Ghana, for instance, the authorities will have to take up the kids.
That's right.
So that's where immigration has to come in, and the judge probably will deport you with your children. That way, we don't have to be spending taxpayers' money.
Taking care of you in our prisons and all that.
And then also taking care of the kids in the shelter.
Yes.
But encouraging begging.
Yes.
That's what where we were before Vox Pop.
Yes. So, well, the children will not be penalized criminally. They will be taken to shelters under the care of the social welfare department. But you, the adult, encouraging them, permitting them under your watch and care to beg for your benefits or for whatever purpose, you will be found culpable with the law. You can be jailed.
So those people who handle the kids,
Yes.
the parents sitting under the tree drinking and encouraging them to go forward,
Yes.
and protecting them to be able to effectively beg.
Yes.
What about you, the one giving the money?
Yes, you're the one giving the money. You're also encouraging them. Yeah.
So if the law finds that
the law finds that
you're complicit.
you're complicit.
Then that's where the emotions
Ouch.
come in. I was feeling emotional. I decided to give them money. He came to me outside. I gave
Emotions
Why
are
would
not
I be
an
punished?
excuse.
I
But
thought you were
yes.
going to run under charitable.
I'll go on the charitable.
Or religious purposes.
Yes, within my religion,
purposes.
I have a pillar to give, so I was just giving alms.
Because you see, you can easily cross that line where giving now hurts. You have your money, somebody comes to you, begs, you give the money out, only to get arrested because you are helping it. It's like soliciting prostitution.
Yeah.
The one paying and the one
paying,
giving
the
the
one
service
receiving it,
are
yeah.
all guilty.
Yes, but I believe that when you go before the magistrate, he looks at the circumstances behind everything before a verdict is given.
Maybe your fine will be lower, but you can be caught. So let's be careful. You don't just give randomly, especially where you yourself, you are convinced that this is how it works. You know those people who now make friends with these immigrants.
Yes.
So when they come, they run up to them, hug them, then uncle, then you start giving money. You are encouraging it. At that point, is it religion?
And the policeman sees you giving the money.
Well, at that point, I'll just look at it as personal conviction as to what it is. Yes.
Is that a defense under our laws?
Well, if
where you say, I've broken the law due to emotional and personal
Well, I won't say I was enabling. I can tell the person that, well, when I came, the person was hungry. According to my religion, I can come under religion, I can come under custom. To show that, yes.
But you see, you would have been arrested first.
Yes.
Okay, by the time you're able to convince the court properly that this is, you would have also felt it.
And afterwards, I'll just change my conviction.
That's a good one.
It's no longer a function of your religion.
No.
We haven't exhausted the exceptions to the offense of begging. Entertainment.
Entertainment, yes. So let's say you are the president of a school club, and then you have some programs coming up. You need money to fund your activities, and you go around with the letters asking maybe corporates bodies and individuals to sponsor your activities. It comes within the exception. This is not begging within the meaning of the law.
Or you go on a float,
Yes.
and then you're asking people to donate to your beach jam.
Yes.
Well,
That is not begging.
It's not
That's
begging.
not begging.
The purpose has been given for what the money is going to be used for.
Yes.
Great.
So everybody knows what the money is going to be. So there's
So
going
you
to be
have
a
a
program.
car
They're going
wash.
to-
But it has to be an
It's-
organized entertainment.
has
It's
to be.
qualified.
Yes.
So you can't walk alone and beg for money to go and then chill at the beach or
Your
go
private
on
entertainment.
a holiday and say, and then when you're caught, you go like it was for entertainment purposes.
Yeah, my
It
personal
should be
entertainment.
it should be an organized
Organized,
setup.
yes.
Yeah.
And organized, I would believe, would mean a registered entity
Yes.
known by the law. You can say, yeah, we're organized, but it's our area boys.
Because
Well,
it
that's true.
is, because I think with this particular exception is purpose focused, we should be able to ascertain, there should be a means of ascertaining and identifying the body that you're coming from.
Yeah.
Because other than that, we cannot say that you're coming under that intended purpose.
And they should
You
be
can
able
go
to
and
be
chill with it.
accountable for the money that they've
Yeah.
received.
Yeah, also where you sell tickets for events, fundraisers, fundraising events, and then out there you now solicit for money. That's an organized thing. Yeah, it's still begging, but
Still
it's an
begging.
organized, structured begging, so it's
Yes.
more sophisticated, and the law exempts that.
One of the purposes has been shown for what it's going to be used for.
Mm-hmm.
The organized one, I think it's fine. It doesn't fall within the remit of begging.
I think it's time to now look at briefly the
Just-
setup of juveniles, how juveniles are treated in the law. You hinted on it when you talked about the immigrant kids and
Yes.
the treatment that is likely. Just briefly, if we can talk about. So there's a kid on the streets. You've seen him, the police or her, and the police sees them, either from a report or because they are there, they happen to be there, and they pick up this kid. What is the treatment?
Well, when they find those minors, they place them into shelters.
Okay.
There's a shelter that is supposed to be organized or set up by the ministry in charge of it. As of now, currently we have like 3 shelters that are well known. One at Medina, then there's one at Weja and one at Shiles.
Yeah.
They are the ones who take in the children to take care for them, provide them resources, provide them education, and they're supposed to be taken care by government resources or other NGO.
Are there people
resources.
in these shelters now?
Yes, at
Yes, we
Medina, I think there are like 7 or 10 children there.
Just 10 children. But we
Yes.
have a lot
They
more
don't-
kids
they don't
begging
have
on the
the
streets.
resources.
They don't have the resources to take
To
care
take
of
care
them.
Because
them.
placing these kids in there without being able to feed them and give them the basic necessaries will be a big problem.
Yes, especially with the other 2, Weja and Shiles, the government needs to be able to resource them before they are able to take in
Yeah.
the children. If there are no resources, they are not able to shelter those children. Those are one of the flaws with this thing, the problems we are having.
Great. So it's a problem of resource
Yes,
and priorities
and
in
priorities.
terms of policy.
Yes, like you said, but one of the main grounds for taking in a juvenile is the child must be a child in need of care and protection.
Yes.
And the social welfare department or officers from the social welfare department have various indices of checking who is in care of, who is in need of care and protection. And when that is established, that's when they will remove the child from the streets to the shelter.
I think on an application by social welfare,
Yeah.
such kids, because of the constraints in terms of
Yeah.
resources,
Resources.
could be placed with individuals.
Yes.
So in foster homes.
Yes.
Yes.
So somebody can volunteer to take care of a kid like that, to be able to give the child care and protection.
Yes.
And the court may also order relatives of
To come
these
and take-
juveniles to
to
come
come and
for
care
them.
for them,
Yes.
Because they are related to you, you have the resources, you have the wherewithal. Why are you not stepping up to support your people?
That's true.
It's time for a break. We'll go, and then when we come back, we continue on the juveniles and probably discuss destitutes.
Yes.
This is still Law Express. Don't go away.
Even with the adults, even though the magistrate can order that either they should be imprisoned or they should pay a fine, there's also an option where they bring family members to come and cater for them and tell them to give a security for good behavior for the offender.
So
About a
this
year.
is an
About
adult
a year.
person.
Yes.
Adults.
And
That's for
then
adult.
I, as another adult, who probably is also a victim of this person's begging, will now be ordered by the court to guarantee somebody's behavior. That
Yeah.
must be a tough call. Because if the person fails to be of good behavior, the two of you now will be in conflict with the law.
Yes.
That's
I'm sure it's because of the representation you may give to the judge. It's that, okay, I don't want my brother or my sister to be imprisoned, so I'm going to take it upon myself to care for him. And the judge will say, then put down a security that he's going to be of good behavior for a year, that he's not going to do that.
But how do you predict a human being? Even the devil doesn't know what is in a person's mind.
Well, that's the issue over there.
We believe in the power of the extended family. Even though we are nucleating a bit, we still have the foundations of our family.
It's still a community.
Yes.
Community. So when one falls down, another must be there to take.
And we look at our customs, we are always there for each other.
So there's always some humane aspect to it.
Yes.
I'm sure it's also born out of the fact that by the time somebody begs, mostly, maybe 90% of the time, they are actually in need.
Yes.
Or they do not have the capacity to be gainfully employed. There is something at play, or they are extremely lazy to the point that even when you give them work, they will not do.
They will not do it.
Because there are some people who do that.
Some people just want the soft life. They think that they are entitled and they don't need to work.
But where you are doing it as a business, where you are begging as a business, I'm sure that option to release you to a relative won't work. You're going straight in.
No, I don't think.
And if I'm the relative and I have hints of your business, I
I'm
am telling the magistrate.
Put him for it.
You're going to
let him be punished.
You snitch on them.
I'll snitch on you.
Let's move on to destitutes before we take on our social media questions.
Okay.
So that is another category of people under the contemplation of this act. So we are looking at people who are extremely poor,
cannot provide for themselves, do not have a place to stay, do not have any, means of taking care of themselves, or a stable location to find themselves in.
Okay.
Mostly wandering around.
So you must be wandering about and unable to provide evidence of having a settled place of abode or unemployment.
Correct.
Okay, and
visible
and sufficient means of subsistence. So you shouldn't have a home, you shouldn't have a job, or you can have a home and no job.
Well, you can have a home and no job.
Okay, and that makes you destitute still.
But you won't be wandering.
Yes. So if you're wandering without a job,
yes,
you can be a destitute. Wandering without a home, destitute.
Wandering
without a home and a job, you're still a destitute.
Yes.
Wandering without any visible means of subsistence.
Okay.
You used the word at the beginning of the program. I think that should best fit this. A vagrant.
Yes.
Vagrancy. That's the word that should, because if you use destitute as a whole, as a large, a lot of people are going to fit inside, and they will not be found within the remit of the law. So we are looking at vagrancy. A person being a vagrant. That is what the law, I'm sure the law was looking at.
Yeah, some jurisdictions actually term it as that. But looking at this particular aspect of destitution, you could still have a settled place of abode. You could still have a job, but if it's not a sufficient means of subsistence, you're still a destitute. Because there's the part which talks about the visible and sufficient means. So where your means is not sufficient, you're earning just 20 cedis a month. You might hold something you call a job or an employment and claim to be self-employed, and you sell toothpick, and your profit is 20 cedis a month. You can still be a destitute under the contemplation of the law.
But how is that an offense?
So, you see, you must be wondering.
Precisely.
To now tie it in, because being destitute and sitting in your house is not really an offense. It comes where you move around, and that's where the vagrancy comes in again.
So you move around soliciting, asking, because you are poor. That is where you fall within that aspect of the
You don't even need to ask. If you're seen wandering around without any actual destination in mind. Because when you now ask, you're a destitute who is begging. So this is like two in one.
So it's like a lawsuit where you're just wandering about with nowhere to go, no place to stay.
They ask you where are you headed, you don't know.
You don't know. What
you
do you do?
Tell.
You do not know. What are you looking for? You do not know.
You can actually know what you do, but then you're destitute. What do you do? I sell toothpick. Okay.
Where?
That is
where do you live?
at the station. Where do you live? You mention where you live, but you can still be destitute. Because I think it's born out of a poor person just walking around.
Yes.
And that's where I take offense. Like, how is poverty an offense? So where you are destitute, the police could ask you to accompany them, right?
Yes.
When
For-
it appears.
Okay, so there's a
I think
suspicion that you are
that's why you're saying
destitute.
that you don't get why you have point at what
Exactly.
around. So where it appears to the
Yes.
police, that is when the police would arrest you and bring you before the magistrate, and then a whole inquiry will be done as to your circumstances to find out
So
whether
if
you
you
are
can
destitute.
substantiate that you are not or prove that you are not a destitute,
Maybe you were going for a walk.
you were going for a
It
walk.
took longer than you expected.
Okay, interesting. So you can be, and where you refuse the invitation,
Yes.
okay, to be accompanied to the station to answer or explain how you're not a destitute, then you could be arrested
Yes. And penalized.
and penalized for that. Great. We have some questions coming in by way of social media. Let's try to resolve them, although we'll be limited because a few lines will not be able to give us a proper picture of the whole thing.
I know a family that is okay financially. Recently, the woman had twins. I have since been seeing her on the street begging for alms. I get shocked because her husband still goes to work and earns a decent amount. He sometimes drops them off with his car on his way to work. I asked the woman why she begs. She says it is a custom. She has to beg with the twins for some years. If not, they will die. Can I report her?
That's an interesting one. It actually falls into
What you
what we
mentioned,
discussed
Kathleen,
previously.
Based on what you guys do, because I didn't know this custom, it's actually new to me.
I mean, once
It's
it's
one of the
established
exceptions,
and it's
yeah.
known, it
Yeah.
falls under the exception.
Exceptions.
So if you report her, she'll use the religion card. Unless after 10 years they are still there.
Yes.
And then there could be a reason because from the question, we do not know how long they've been there. She was told that they would have to beg for some years.
Some
How
years.
many years?
How many
It wasn't
years?
stated, the period
Yeah,
was not
have they
stated.
exceeded it, or now the husband is using them as the second stream of income, where they work on the street, he works wherever he
Yeah.
does.
So
And they
all
bring the
these
money
must
home.
be interrogated.
Yes,
And found out the circumstances, and let's look into the custom to know for
Which
what
area
period.
exactly.
They are
and what are
supposed to
the
Great.
rudiments of that particular custom.
Yeah.
Can a relative of a destitute person refuse to take the destitute under his or her care?
I think when we think about just
Everybody has a
regular
choice.
procedure in courts, a judge has given an order. You can't refuse, unless of course your circumstances would not allow.
you.
But that will be
But
considered
that will be
before the
considered-
order is made.
Exactly.
You know, the court would make an order that cannot be acted on. We don't. The court will not make orders that are void or such that it's almost impossible to act on them. They must come with a force and power, right? So by the time the court is asking you, as a relative of a destitute, to take them in,
You should
They've
know your
considered-
circumstances. They've done their
exactly.
investigation, they've done their search, and realized that you are in a capable position to take care of the destitute before
That's
they give
it.
it out.
yes. So at that point, it becomes an order of the court, and you be in contempt where you refuse to take
Yes.
them in.
But before then, the court cannot force you to do something that is not within your power or within your
Exactly.
comfort.
So if, for instance, you think that the court did not consider all the variables in terms of your situation, you can apply to have the order set aside
Yeah.
by
Okay.
giving just reasons or varied,
Yeah.
so that somebody else who probably is a better relative or in a better
proposition.
place
Please.
would take that person.
Or perhaps after the order, your circumstances changed.
Yes, yes.
And go back to court and have it.
And have it changed as well. Further on the destitute, there's also the category of the mentally ill people who fall within the destitute
Okay.
category. So those ones, when they are found, like the madmen you see walking around, when the police are find them and bring them before the magistrate, they are actually, how to call it, sent to an institution for them to take good care of. Like we can mention, like the gentleman said, the Asylum Hospital at Asylum down.
Psychiatric hospital.
So that
Psychiatric
is
hospital, it's
where
also
the
one of the
person
institutions.
needs medical care, because that
Yes.
is a psychiatric hospital.
Yes.
It is not a home for destitutes. So first of all, you know, there's a category where the mentally ill person is neglected or abandoned.
Abandoned. Yes.
So if that is the case simpliciter and you don't need any medical intervention, that is where the homes come in.
The homes come
Yes.
in.
An institution, one of the homes, shelters will take care of
Yeah.
this person. But where the person is also sick, or the mental illness is such that it needs to be managed first. So that is where your
They take them to the
institution
psychiatrist.
comes in, yes.
They check them out to see if they are okay.
and
then
then
they can-
after that they can be released. Now
Exactly.
they could also be released to a relative, as we earlier on
Yes.
discussed, for care.
For care and protection as well. At least with this one, they do not find them or give them any security.
Because they are treated almost within the same space as minors.
Yes.
You know, there's a challenge.
That they cannot take care of themselves on their
Mentally.
own, so they
Perfect.
need someone to care for them.
In addition to that, where the magistrate also finds from the social welfare officers' reports that such a person can have rehabilitation outside an institution, there's alternative care that would also be ordered instead of committing them to a mental health institution.
All too soon, we've come to the end of today's episode. As usual, we normally just scratch the surface. So let's keep the conversation going on. It was great having you both, counsel, on the show. I was joined today by Benedicta Akita, Mrs., and Nana Oseidichum. My name is Noella Seidu, and we were the panel that brought to you the discussion on beggars and destitutes on Law Express. Until same time next time, goodbye.